When a woman disappears without a sound, investigators don't ask if a crime happened. They ask how much time is already lost.
She didn't miss work. Not once. Not ever.
No forced entry. No witnesses. No screams. But someone was already spending her money.
A quiet, middle-class neighborhood in Anchorage, Alaska, the kind of place where porch lights stay on, where the air smells like pine and coffee, and where people believe the front door is the final line between safety and everything else. Now imagine this. A woman whose entire career is built around treating trauma, listening to fear, helping broken minds stand back up. And one night she simply vanishes. No shattered glass. No screaming. No neighbor calling 911 to report a fight. No forced entry. No visible struggle. Just silence. And then, while the city is still sleeping at 4 a.m., an ATM camera records a masked man. He doesn't sprint. He doesn't fumble. He doesn't look over his shoulder like he's terrified of being caught. He calmly checks the balance. $20,000. Then he keeps coming back, again and again, as if the camera is invisible. As if consequences don't exist. And here's where the story turns from disturbing to sickening. As investigators dig deeper, the most terrifying clue doesn't come from the bank, or from a crime scene, or from some remote forest. It comes from the neighborhood, from next door. One by one, neighbors point to the same house, the loud house, the party house, the house where strangers come and go at all hours, the house where stories don't match, the house that never feels normal, no matter how normal the street looks. And soon, the FBI realizes something that sounds like a nightmare. The danger wasn't hiding in the Alaskan wilderness. It was living right beside her. This isn't just a missing person case. This is a story about how someone can disappear from a normal home, in a normal street, while everyone sleeps. And how one small mistake, one receipt, one dog's nose, and one citywide manhunt exposed a predator hiding in plain sight. Tonight on EpochLens, this is the chilling FBI pursuit of Mindy Schllo and the neighbor who knew far more than he ever should have. The FBI is one of the most sophisticated law enforcement agencies in the world, built for the worst of the worst. Kidnappers who think they're invisible, predators who practice patience, fugitives who can disappear into a crowd like smoke. But the most terrifying cases don't always start with a body. They don't always start with a weapon. They don't even always start with a crime scene. Sometimes they start with something smaller, something that feels harmless, until you realize what it actually means. A missed shift, a phone that doesn't ring, a woman who doesn't show up when she always shows up. Because real life doesn't announce tragedy with music. Tragedy usually arrives quietly, and the first warning sign is routine breaking. And when routine breaks for the right kind of person, a reliable person, a responsible person, it isn't mood. It isn't space. It isn't a sudden personality change. It's a warning. And that warning began in Anchorage, Alaska. It's August 4th, 2007, around 1:30 a.m. Anchorage at night has a different kind of quiet than most cities. It's not just less traffic. It's distance. It's wide darkness. It's the feeling that the world ends a little sooner here, and the silence starts a little earlier. Inside a modest home, 52-year-old Mindy Schllo is finishing a normal Friday night. Mindy is a psychiatric nurse practitioner. That matters, because her job is literally fear. Her job is listening to people describe the things they can't sleep through. Her job is recognizing danger in behavior. Her job is staying calm when someone else can't. And Mindy is also, according to the people who love her, a person of structure. Disciplined. Responsible. The kind of person who plans her days and keeps promises. She's a relative newcomer to Anchorage. She has routines. She has a schedule. She has a Saturday planned, errands, lunch with a friend, small normal life things. Before bed, she sends a few emails. Then she logs off for the night. No drama. No crisis. No sign that anything is about to happen. And that's the point. Because the worst predators don't attack when your life is already falling apart. They prefer normal. Normal is quiet. Normal is predictable. Normal is where people assume the door will do its job. Saturday arrives. A friend calls Mindy. No answer. Maybe she's out. Maybe she's busy. Maybe she's asleep. You don't jump to fear on the first call. But then Sunday comes, and something changes. Her cell phone is full. Not taking messages anymore. And for some people that means nothing, but for Mindy, that is not normal. Because Mindy is the kind of person who clears her voicemail. The kind of person who stays reachable. The kind of person who doesn't accidentally vanish. Her best friend Jerry yet has known her for 18 years. 18 years means you don't just know someone's birthday. You know their rhythm. You know the habits they don't even think about. You know what normal looks like on them. Jerry knows everything about Mindy, including her favorite pastime. Blueberries. It sounds almost funny. It sounds like the kind of detail you'd put in a light story. But in missing person cases, small details are oxygen. Because they prove a person had patterns, and when patterns break, it means something pushed them. Mindy loved picking blueberries. Not casually, obsessively. Friends joked about it. It became her signature. Blueberry jam. Blueberry cheesecake. Blueberry cakes. If you were close to Mindy, you didn't just know she liked blueberries. You knew she was her in that detail. It was part of her identity. And when someone like that disappears, someone with identity and pattern, the fear isn't, maybe she went away. The fear is, someone interrupted her life. Jerry often checks on Mindy's house to take care of her cat when she's away. So on Monday, he goes over. From the outside, nothing is screaming. No broken window. No police tape. No obvious disaster. But the moment he gets there, something feels off. It's subtle. And subtle is what makes it scary. He notices the door handle seems loose. But the door is locked. Inside, bills are half paid on the table. An empty wine bottle is sitting in the kitchen. And the house looks different. Not ransacked. Not destroyed. Like a room where a conversation ended too abruptly. That's a terrifying feeling, because it doesn't come with proof. It comes with instinct. And instinct is often the first true alarm. Jerry calls Mindy's supervisor. And her supervisor says something that instantly turns discomfort into dread. She didn't show up for work this morning. For some people, missing work happens. Late alarm, traffic, sick day, stress, whatever. But Mindy's job isn't 5 minutes away. Mindy commutes 360 miles to Fairbanks every other week. That means missing work isn't casual. It's not a slip. It's not a mistake. It's a sign that something is seriously wrong. Mindy almost never misses work. So now the question changes. It's not, where is Mindy? It becomes, what happened to Mindy? Her boss calls Anchorage police. At first, the police response is procedural, a welfare check. Officers do what they're trained to do in the early stage. Look for obvious danger. Forced entry. Broken locks. Signs of a struggle. Blood. A shattered window. But they find none of it. No forced entry. And that detail, that single detail, is one of the most deceptive things in the entire case. Because when there's no forced entry, people assume no crime. They assume the victim left on her own. They assume it's a misunderstanding. But predators love clean scenes. Clean scenes by time. And in missing person cases, time is a weapon. Then Tuesday comes. Mindy misses work again. Now it isn't routine. It isn't maybe. It's escalation. Anchorage police get another call. And the case lands on the desk of Detective Pam Perdue, a homicide detective with 5 years in homicide. 5 years doesn't just teach you gore. It teaches you patterns. And Pam Perdue recognizes a pattern immediately. This is a suspicious missing person. Because Mindy was responsible, reliable, commitment-driven, and she has never been out of contact this long. When responsible people vanish, it isn't random. It's usually controlled. Detective Perdue goes back to Mindy's house and begins building the timeline. Jerry is there again because when your friend is missing, you don't wait for updates. You hover. You help. You replay every detail until it hurts. They talk inside the house. And Perdue notices something that anchors the investigation. The garage is empty. Jerry says Mindy's car should be in the garage. It's uncharacteristic of Mindy to drive her car to the airport or do anything like that. That matters because cars are decisions. If Mindy's car is gone, then either Mindy broke her pattern for a reason or someone else moved her car. Jerry wants to believe Mindy is okay. That's human. The brain tries to protect itself by creating a story where the ending is safe. But then Detective Perdue checks the airline records. And the records reveal something decisive. Mindy never even boarded the plane. Now the ran away possibility collapses. Because if you plan to leave town, you board the plane. If you don't board the plane, one of two things happened. You changed your mind at the last second, or you never had the chance. And the second possibility is the one that detectives learn to fear. Detective Perdue is certain something sinister has happened. She doesn't know what happened, but she doesn't think Mindy is coming home. That sentence, "I don't think she's coming home," isn't drama. It's experience. Now the investigation moves into the next phase. If there's no forced entry and no witness and no body, you follow the traces people can't erase easily. Money. Detective Perdue combs through Mindy's bank records. Because bank records tell you what the person didn't do as much as what they did. You learn a person's normal life by looking at the patterns. Where they shop, what they pay, how they withdraw money, and then you look for the moment the pattern breaks. Perdue notices suspicious activity. Two $500 ATM withdrawals from two different banks. The day after Mindy disappeared. That's important for two reasons. First, the timing is wrong. The withdrawals happened in the early morning hours. Second, it's unusual for Mindy to withdraw cash. So why would she suddenly do it? Twice. At that hour? It doesn't read like Mindy. It reads like someone using Mindy. Perdue pulls surveillance footage from Wells Fargo and Credit Union 1. And what she sees confirms what her instincts already screamed. It wasn't Mindy taking out the cash. It was a white male. A bandana pulled up under his eyes. A hat. A baseball cap. A backpack. He looked like he was trying to disguise who he was. Now Perdue is certain Mindy is in danger. Because if someone has her card, it means either they stole it or they took it directly from her. And if they took it directly from her, where is she? This is where the FBI enters. Perdue knows the most relentless investigators of murder and money are the Bureau. She contacts Special Agent Mike Thorson. He hits the ground running, starting with the only concrete lead, the bank videos. Thorson watches the Wells Fargo footage and says later he knew immediately. Something happened to Mindy. The footage shows a man approaching the bank. From the left, you can see a white male standing outside, appearing to do something, then walking into the bank, walking straight to the ATM. He's wearing a bandana, a blue puffy style jacket, the backpack. He pulls down the bandana briefly, revealing his mouth and nose. And then he conducts a balance inquiry. The ATM displays it, approximately $20,000 in the account. That number matters because money changes risk. A thief will take bigger risks for a bigger reward. But a predator with a stolen card doesn't just see money, he sees leverage. He sees time. And then the man does something strange. He leaves and returns to the ATM 4 times. Thorson deduces Mindy's card became trapped in the machine. That deduction isn't just technical, it's psychological. Because it suggests the man isn't just grabbing cash and running. He's persistent. He's coming back repeatedly because he believes he's entitled to keep access. He believes he can fix the problem and continue. And that kind of calm persistence at 4 a.m. tells you something. He doesn't feel hunted. He feels safe. Thorson believes the man was trying everything he could to get that ATM card back because he knew there was $20,000 sitting in the account and he just lost his access to it. Imagine what that looks like in real time. A man, masked, repeatedly walking back into a bank in the early hours like he owns the place. That's not panic. That's confidence. And confidence in a criminal investigation often means the offender believes the victim can't report him. Thorson fast-forwards through the footage and gets a break. At Credit Union 1, they see a person going into the bank not wearing a disguise. A potential witness. He walks in, performs his transaction, receives his money, and exits. If they can identify him, maybe he can identify the masked man. Thorson begins trying to track the witness down, but it will take time. And with so little to go on, Mindy's time may be running out. There's a line that hits hard in cases like this. My heart said there's not going to be a good outcome. That's not pessimism. That's pattern recognition. When you have a missing woman, no forced entry, a masked man using her card at 4 a.m., and no contact for days, hope becomes thinner. 5 days after Mindy's disappearance, the FBI and Anchorage police are frantic. Special Agent Jolene Godin questions everyone who crossed Mindy's path. Family, friends, anyone who knew her, anyone who had access to her, anyone who could have motive. Because in a case without a scene, people are the only map. Mindy's boyfriend is questioned, but he can prove he was in another city the night she disappeared. Investigators also learn Mindy was getting bids from contractors to do work on her home. Home repair, remodeling, things that bring strangers close to your private space. One worker was the last person to see Mindy in her home before she disappeared. Another worker has a criminal record. The question forms quickly. Could one of the workers have killed Mindy and stolen her debit card? It's a logical line to follow, because contractors can learn routines. They can learn when a person is alone. They can learn vulnerabilities. But logic isn't proof. And soon, another lead breaks the direction of the case. A friend spots what could be Mindy's red Acura Integra near a cargo facility at Anchorage International Airport. He's driving down the street, looks over, pulls in, compares license plates, and it's Mindy's car. Thorson and his team find surveillance video of the parking lot. They see the red Acura come into view. They see it park. They see what appears to be a male wearing a backpack exit the vehicle. Then the man walks outside the camera view. But they can't identify him. He's too far away. And that moment is one of the most brutal parts of real investigations. You see the truth happening, but you can't grab a face. The frustration grows because that footage gives you a lead. That goes nowhere. Without a positive ID, investigators pin their hopes on something else. A clue inside Mindy's car. They search it, and inside they find Mindy's purse, house keys, car keys, a wallet, everything except her ATM card. That detail sharpens the story into a blade. The offender didn't just steal money. He stole the one piece that lets him keep reaching into her life. And still, forensic evidence takes time. DNA results can take weeks. And the FBI doesn't have that kind of time. So Jolene Godin reaches out to Washington, D.C. They contact the Evidence Response Team unit at headquarters and ask them to deploy human-scent dogs and cadaver dogs to Anchorage. This is escalation. Because you don't bring cadaver dogs when you think you're dealing with a simple missing adult who wandered off. You bring cadaver dogs when the clock is telling you what no one wants to say out loud. Supervisory Special Agent Rex Stockham, who helped create the Bureau's Forensic Canine Program in 1999, makes the decision to assist. They bring 5 dogs. Because they have a lot of square miles to cover, both looking for the body and looking for the offender. And while the FBI readies the dogs, Anchorage PD canvasses Mindy's neighborhood. Detective Perdue goes door to door asking if anyone saw anything unusual. And here's where the case begins to lean toward a nightmare. Because instead of people pointing to a random suspicious car, or a stranger, or a distant threat, they all point to one thing: Mindy's next-door neighbors. Every single house points to the same house, saying it had a lot of young people living in it. It was loud. There were parties. People coming and going at all hours of the night. And when investigators speak to residents of that house, they can't get a straight answer. Evasive about who lived there. How many people? Who was in the house? And detectives ask the question that always follows evasiveness. Why are you hiding something? What is it? What's going on that you won't talk about? Next door lives Kathy Easley. Before detectives can speak to her, a neighbor knocks on her door. A guy from next door named Josh. Kathy comes to the door half open. Josh says, "Hey, I live next door, of course. I've seen you around. I have a question. Has anybody come to you looking for me?" Then he says he doesn't want anybody to know he's living next door. Kathy asks why. Josh says, "Because I have a warrant out for my arrest." And he adds that nobody knows he's there and he thinks police are in the neighborhood. Kathy tells him she doesn't talk to anybody. At that point, nobody has been to her door yet. Josh leaves. Minutes later, Detective Perdue shows up. But Kathy is too scared to talk. She steps out on her porch and Perdue is checking in with neighbors. And Kathy sees Josh looking out the window, watching her talk to police. So she makes big hand gestures like she doesn't know anything. She shakes her head. Not because she has nothing. Because she's terrified. Later, Kathy calls Detective Perdue and leaves a cryptic message. She says she doesn't want to be interviewed at home because she's afraid of her neighbor. And she has good reason. He's watching her every move. She describes hearing someone walk up on her porch. She goes to see who it is. And Josh is standing there. Not knocking again. Not doing anything. Just standing there for a couple of minutes. That isn't casual. That's pressure. That's intimidation without words. Detective Perdue assigns surveillance to the house. Eventually, she gets a full name. 27-year-old Joshua Wade. Investigator suspect. If Wade doesn't have anything to do with Mindy's disappearance, he might know who does. Then August 16th arrives. It's now been 12 days since Mindy disappeared. The chances of finding her alive are dwindling. The FBI's forensic canine team arrives in Anchorage. They start at the Wells Fargo Bank. Agents present the dogs with scents taken from Mindy's car. They immediately get a positive response. And this is how the canine team explains it. A positive response means there's an association between the collected odor and an odor on the ground near the ATM machine. The dog is basically saying, "The odor you gave me matches what's here. I'm going to follow it." A bloodhound drops down and starts running the trail to the source. It leads them straight to Mindy's neighborhood. The dog comes to Mindy's house first, sniffs around. Then it goes to the fence separating Mindy's house and Josh's house. The dog's nose goes up in the air. Then it follows the fence line, around, into Josh Wade's front yard, and to the side door. Agent Godin watches closely. A second bloodhound does the same thing. A beeline straight to Joshua Wade's house. And Godin says she thought the dogs would be helpful, but had no idea this would happen. Investigators are now suspicious Joshua Wade knows what happened to Mindy. They get even more curious when they look into Wade's past and learn this isn't his first brush with the law. And that brings the investigation into a darker chapter. Because Wade isn't just a loud neighbor. He's connected to another missing woman. 7 years before Mindy's disappearance, a 33-year-old Native Alaskan woman named Della Brown vanishes. She was outgoing, likable, the type who could strike up small talk with anyone. She struggled with drugs and alcohol, but still managed to hold down a job as a bingo hostess. She smiled back at people. The forever smile. On September 2nd, 2000, Della's body is discovered in an abandoned shack in a rough part of Anchorage. The shack is known for drug use, gambling, prostitution, and that night, murder. She's lying on her back, significant trauma to head and face. Beaten so severely her head is partially caved in. It appears she's been raped. Detectives have little to go on and scramble to keep the case from going cold. Until a surprising tip comes in. A group of informants claim a 20-year-old named Joshua Wade saw Della passed out on the side of the road hours before she was murdered. They say he later killed her, then took them to see the body. They describe him showing up excited, sweating, what looked like blood on his hoodie, saying, "Come over here, I want to show you something," leading them to the shed to show the body. Police arrest Wade September 30th and charge him with sexual assault, murder, and evidence tampering. At trial, Della's mother sits front and center expecting conviction. But Wade is acquitted on all charges except tampering with a shovel. The case was a perfect storm. No witnesses to the killing, informants with rough pasts, facing charges themselves. Police and family feel he got away with murder. Wade mocks Anchorage PD. He serves a little more than 3 years. Released December 12, 2006. And now, less than a year later, Joshua Wade is being linked to another woman's disappearance, Mindy Schllo. And the question becomes unavoidable. Is he the man who used Mindy's card at the ATM? And with the dog's trail now pointing to his door, the case is no longer drifting. It's locking in. For weeks, Special Agents Mike Thorson and Jolene Godin are running on the worst kind of fuel, urgency without certainty. They don't have Mindy. They don't have a one strong piece of evidence that screams courtroom victory. And that's the thing about missing person investigations that turn homicidal. You often feel the ending long before you can prove it. They have fragments. A masked man. 2 early morning withdrawals. A car abandoned near the airport. A neighbor everyone whispers about. And now the dogs. To the public, a bloodhound running down a sidewalk looks almost ordinary. To investigators, it's terrifying because it means something invisible is real. A scent trail from the bank to Mindy's neighborhood doesn't automatically prove murder. But it suggests contact, movement, a link between places that should have no link. And when that link ends at Joshua Wade's side door, twice, the investigation shifts from possible to probable. But probable isn't enough. Probable opens doors. It doesn't close cases. So investigators do what they always do when a suspect rises to the top. They build the box. They go back through every hour of Mindy's last known days. They ask, who knew her schedule? Who knew she lived alone? Who could approach her without raising alarms? They revisit the contractors. They revisit friends. They revisit anyone who had access. And slowly they rule people out. Roommates? Ruled out. Contractors? Ruled out. Close friends? Ruled out. And that matters because eliminating suspects isn't wasted work. It tightens the focus. When enough people are eliminated, the remaining person becomes heavier. And Joshua Wade remains. He remains because the clues do not drift away from him. They keep returning. The jacket on the ATM video is described as a blue puffy style jacket. So investigators look for a jacket like that. And when they finally execute a search warrant inside Wade's house, the air changes. Search warrants are where theories meet reality. Because theories are flexible. Evidence isn't. Inside they find a jacket. Same jacket as the ATM video. And inside the pocket of that jacket is the kind of thing that makes investigators go silent for a second. An ATM receipt showing a withdrawal from Mindy Schllo's account. That's not maybe. That's not, someone said. That's contact between Wade and Mindy's money after she vanished. Then they find a woman's watch. A gold watch, identified by a close friend as likely Mindy's. They take scent samples from Wade's belongings, shoes in his closet, the jacket itself. And the scent work narrows it down further, reinforcing what the dogs already screamed outside the house. Now investigators are more confident than ever that Wade is in extreme danger. They say it plainly. They have a connection between the car, the ATM, and the house. So Wade, if he didn't do it, at least knew something about it or was connected somehow. But even now, there's a brutal legal reality. They still don't have Mindy's body. And without a body, murder charges are harder to anchor. So investigators shift to strategy. This is where people who've never seen cases up close misunderstand the move. Why not arrest him for murder if you know he did it? Because knowing isn't proving. And proving is what keeps predators in prison. So they charge him with what they can prove right now. Bank fraud. Aggravated identity theft. And aggravated identity theft carries a mandatory minimum sentence, 2 years. 2 years doesn't sound like much in the shadow of murder, but in investigations, 2 years is time. Time to keep him off the street. Time to find Mindy. Time to build the airtight murder case. But there's a catch. They still have to locate Joshua Wade to arrest him. And by the time the warrant is issued, Wade has already made a decision. He's going to run. On August 29, 2007, more than 3 weeks after Mindy vanished, a federal arrest warrant is issued for Wade. And the biggest manhunt in Anchorage history begins. Think about what that means in a city like Anchorage. It's not New York. It's not a city where you can vanish into a million faces every minute. Anchorage is a place where people notice the same car twice. So for a man to disappear here, he either has help, or he has nerve, or both. APD and FBI hit the streets almost daily. They keep finding the same frustrating truth. They're minutes, hours, behind where he just was. That means he's moving. It means he's not hiding in one spot. It means he's slipping through the city like a shadow that keeps changing shape. Wade's father, Greg, is overwhelmed. He wants to believe he was wrong. He wants to believe his son didn't commit the first homicide, and now another woman ends up missing after contact with his son. He's devastated. He makes a public appeal. I love you, Josh. I want you to turn yourself in. But public appeals don't always reach the part of a predator that feels shame. Sometimes they only add pressure. And pressure can make a cornered man more dangerous. Then the break comes from a direction investigators sometimes rely on when the official trail runs thin. The suspect's own social circle. A friend named Christina Greaser has been following the news coverage of Mindy's disappearance. She sees the ATM surveillance footage come up. Her daughter points something out. Oh my God, looks like he's wearing a backpack. And then the sentence that turns Christina's blood cold. Oh my God, I gave him a ride today and he left his backpack in my car. They rush out to the car. They look inside Wade's bag. Inside, half a bottle of alcohol. A wallet with an old prison ID. A lot of bank receipts. And then something that doesn't feel like coincidence. A cell phone with pictures of a gun on it. Christina calls the police and tells them everything she knows. To Christina, the call to police was the most logical thing she could do. But logic doesn't erase fear. Because within hours, Joshua Wade shows up at her East Anchorage apartment. And you have to understand the terror of that moment. This isn't a rumor anymore. This isn't a face on a news clip. This is a man standing in front of your door, a man police believe may be tied to a missing woman, and you have already made the call he doesn't want made. Christina is suddenly face to face with a suspected killer. Wade wants something simple, a ride out to Wasilla. He claims he has something to take care of out there, to pick up CDs and personal belongings. But that's what people say when they're trying to sound normal. Christina's daughter refuses. Wade pushes, I need your ride. And then Christina's daughter does the smartest thing she can do in a moment like that. She makes an excuse. She says she needs to go into the apartment for a cigarette. But it isn't for a cigarette. It's for distance. For a phone. For survival. Inside, calls are made. Words ensue. Wade gets angry. And he leaves. But he doesn't leave the area. And that's the difference between a man who is simply fleeing and a man who is spiraling. Christina calls Anchorage police as Wade flees to a nearby apartment. And then something happens that turns the manhunt into a crisis. Christina follows him on foot with her cell phone, giving updates to SWAT team members on where he is. Wade knocks on the door of an apartment. A brother and sister live there. He asks to use the phone. And then he forces his way in. Inside, he controls the situation. He eventually lets the brother leave. But the sister stays inside. Now it's no longer just a fugitive hunt. It's a hostage situation. When a policeman knocks on the door, Wade makes his position clear. Stand back. He has a hostage. At that point, Wade is considered armed and dangerous. Law enforcement doesn't know whether he's armed or not. But they treat him like he is, because you don't gamble when a hostage is involved. Every on-duty Anchorage police officer, every FBI agent, SWAT, K-9 units, all of them stand ready, guns drawn, prepared to fire. A neighborhood wakes up to the sound of crisis. On the morning of September 2, 2007, residents of a sleepy East Anchorage apartment complex awaken to SWAT teams banging on their doors. The entire road is blocked off. No traffic allowed through. Authorities wait anxiously while a negotiator tries to convince Wade to give himself up. And this is where the psychology becomes the final battlefield. Wade has already gotten away with one murder in the court system, at least in the eyes of police and family. Now he has to decide: turn himself in and risk being convicted, or risk being shot during a standoff. At 11:40 a.m., Wade decides to surrender. He lets the hostage go. Relief hits like air returning to lungs. Christina says she was relieved. An undercover FBI agent even comes up and hugs them, like the whole city can finally sleep. Officers cuff Wade and take him to FBI headquarters for questioning. Now Agent Thorson needs something more than a win on a standoff. He needs a confession. Because without a body, without the final evidence, a confession can be the difference between a temporary cage and permanent justice. Thorson takes an unusual tack. He explains they charged Wade with bank fraud. He describes it plainly. Wade used the ATM card of another individual without permission. Wade reacts with disbelief. He says they're assuming. Thorson replies, they're not assuming, they have more than that. And then Thorson drops the line that is designed to get a reaction. We actually talked to Mindy. It isn't true. They have not talked to Mindy. But interrogations aren't always about truth in the moment. They're about extracting truth from the suspect's behavior. Wade's response is immediate. He's caught. He says, basically, "What did you just say?" And then he smirks. Thorson later says when Wade smirked and smiled, he knew. Mindy was dead. Joshua Wade is transferred to the Anchorage jail. On September 11, 2007, he is indicted on fraud charges. But it's now been more than a month since Mindy disappeared. Without a body, agents can't build the murder case they want. Then, on September 13th, a workman reports a gruesome discovery about an hour north of Anchorage. He got out of his truck, walked back into the woods, saw something that didn't look right, walked closer, and saw what appeared to be a human body. Investigators race to the scene. The body has been burned, but appears female. They carefully search the area and find a bullet and a shell casing. Dental analysis confirms the identity. The body is 52-year-old Mindy Schllo. And in that moment, denial dies. Friends say once they found her body, you couldn't pretend anymore. It was confirmation of what your heart already knew. Now the case transforms. Now it isn't missing. Now it's murder. Agents begin building the airtight case against Joshua Wade. Scent dogs confirm Wade had been at the location where Mindy's body was discovered. Agents take DNA samples from Mindy. They swab the steering wheel of Mindy's car, presumed driven by Wade. Those swabs go to the state of Alaska crime lab. The crime lab returns with a match. DNA matching Joshua Wade. That match puts him at the scene, and this time there's no getting away with it. Wade is indicted on 8 counts, including murder, carjacking, aggravated identity theft. He denies it, even to his father. His father tells him, if you did this, face up to it, tell the truth. Wade looks him in the eyes and says he didn't do it. But it doesn't last. Because evidence is a closing door. And when a door closes enough times, even the most defiant suspect realizes the room is shrinking. Rather than risk going to trial and losing, Wade pleads guilty. He admits to torturing and killing Mindy Schllo. And he tells investigators the chilling story. In the early morning hours of August 4th, he broke into Mindy's home intending burglary. Once inside, he bound her hands and legs with black zip ties. He gagged her with a rag, wrapped tape around her head. He forced Mindy to give up her debit card PIN. He shoved her into the back seat of her own car. He drove her approximately 50 miles, about an hour away. Pulled into an undeveloped subdivision, a wooded cul-de-sac. He made her get out of the car, walked down a path, and he shot her in the back of the head. Then he returned to Mindy's home and tried to conceal his crime. He made her bed. He stole her watch, dumped her car at the airport. In the days after the murder, he withdrew cash from Mindy's accounts. Then he returned to the woods to burn her body. After admitting to Mindy's murder, Wade strikes a deal with prosecutors. If he also confesses to the murder of Della Brown, he will be spared the death penalty. And he admits it. Finally, everyone knows who killed Della. At his sentencing hearing, Wade reads an 11-minute statement. And under questioning, he admits to the murder of Della Brown. Joshua Wade is sentenced to 99 years in prison without parole for the murder of Mindy Schllo. People say the truth didn't bring Mindy back. It didn't bring Della back. But there is relief that justice was served for not just one woman, but two. Investigators call Wade what he was becoming: a serial killer in the making. No regard for human life. He admitted to killing 2 women he didn't know, 2 innocent women. And the most terrifying part? He didn't hide in some distant wilderness. He lived next door. And that's the real nightmare this case leaves behind. The biggest threats don't always look like strangers in the dark. Sometimes they look like the loud house, the party house, the neighbor everyone avoids. Until one day, avoidance becomes regret. Mindy spent her life helping people survive fear. She never imagined fear would come through her own door. So here's the lesson that matters, especially if you think like a systems person, like someone responsible for safety at scale. Risk isn't always the obvious attacker. Risk is the blind spot. Risk is what becomes normal noise. Because predators love normal noise. If this story shook you, if you want more cases told with depth, suspense, and the details that actually matter, subscribe to EpochLens right now. Hit the like button so this reaches more people. And comment below, what part of this case disturbed you most? The ATM footage, the dogs leading to the side door, or the fact that the monster was living right beside her? Because the next story is already waiting, and it's closer than you think.